Welcome to the Wise Dome podcast, a series that is so much more than just a podcast series. This is a movement towards a lifestyle you know you deserve. It's all about the ease of inspiring and sharing your knowledge and experiences online. I'm your host, Nikki Kelly, and I have always admired those who share their wisdom, those who have decided to inspire others. Just like my guests, I found my version of inspiring others by sharing my wisdom and created a lifestyle I wanted, and I'm going to share all the secrets for how you can too. On this show, you'll find inspiration, motivation, and advice from experts, as well as valuable tips on how to get started or improve your business. Let's dive into how you can begin and grow your wisdom business. Remember, inspiring others looks different for everyone. How will you inspire? Hi everyone, welcome to the Wise Dome podcast. Join us today to celebrate our final, for this year, 50th episode with a special mashup of the best moments we have had so far. Wishing you all an amazing Christmas holiday ahead and hoping you all stay safe and enjoy time with family and friends. Now, ready to be inspired, motivated and learn how to share your knowledge online? Well, press play and enjoy a little mashup episode.
There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of doubt, questioning. What was there consistently were sentences like, but I know I can do this, but I know I'm meant for this. There was this inner knowing of what was possible for me, of what I was meant to do in the world. And that inner knowing was a little bit stronger than my fears. And I think that's why I kept going.
Yeah. But it's lovely to hear that you actually journaled at the very beginning, because a lot of people have a tendency to just, go with the flow. They have their plan, they have their checklist. And journaling, I've only just discovered myself too, admittedly, how powerful journaling can be. And this is going to be like a little side note, but with regards to your journaling, it was funny because we were in a conversation with a group of other women, business leaders and so forth. We were asking each other, how do we journal? And, what are the different ways you journal? Do you actually journal? I think from your TED Talk, I noticed was it on your phone? You're putting notes on your phone? Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I do both. So, I've always journaled. When I was a little kid, I journaled. I have found some of my journals. It's like me and Allison went to the pool today, and I would journal about what I did in college. I journaled a lot about all of the relationships that didn't work out before I met my husband. Yeah. And when I started my business, I would journal anytime I had an idea that would be like a brain dump. It would be like, I can sell this thing. Here's what I can look like, almost like a business plan in a notebook. And that I would write out a lot and kind of map out. But the way that I journaled probably more often in the beginning was I felt so paralyzed by the stress, the fear, all these things that I would just open a note on my phone. Or if I was home and I had my physical journal, I would just write out my feelings. It was just free dump.
Yeah.
I don't do that as much anymore because I have more tools. I think free dump is really, really important.
Went through this process, and this is kind of a roundabout way to answer your question, but I will try to come back to the point. I went from having this library, right, where people could just go in and access what they wanted, to offering a lot of live stream classes so that we could practice together. And that felt needed at the time because people wanted connection, but we were unable to have it in the traditional sense. And so I changed the way that the whole membership was structured in order to make that a bigger part of it. Yeah. And then I have since pulled that back again to kind of like meet the newly evolving reality, right? So, but I guess what happens is when you have something like this, like an online wisdom business where you are, people join, people cancel, people leave, and they give you feedback. And a lot of the time what I was noticing was the feedback that I was getting wasn't about me at all. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about the classes. It wasn't about the tech. It wasn't about any of that. It was the people saying, I just can't get myself to use it, right? Like I just can't seem to show up. I can't seem to, I'm not using it as often as I thought, or whatever. Would be the, and still is the primary sort of feedback that I would get.
Okay.
And that is a very real problem that all of us face as business owners. You know, any kind of DIY product, we have the best intentions, and then, and we sign up, we buy the thing, and then we don't do it. And so that has always, you know, for the past 2 years, that's been the piece that I've been trying to figure out how to best support people. And so that's probably how I figured out that something maybe needed to change. But it's been a very fine line between figuring out what I can do and what I need to say, this is still your responsibility, right? As a consumer, as a person.
Right.
And there was definitely days where, unfortunately, I allowed it to be the truth of the moment. Right. And those were the days where it would cut me to the core. And like on my bio, I'm very open about it. I did struggle with suicide. But once it was the third time that it happened, and when that happened, I find something clicked in me and was like, okay, if I've attempted it 3 times and it hasn't happened, and I've gone through all this stuff, there is a definite purpose here. So I choose to go on to the journey of discovering what is my purpose. And so that was a complete life changer. I continued. The kids asked me, why are you still in this relationship? You're so unhappy. And I told them it's because I don't feel like I've learned my lesson yet. I don't feel released. And so now his name on my phone, I've changed it to teacher. We now have a good relationship, much better than ever. But going through that, I had to learn who I was. And it is just that proverbial image of the lotus flower growing through the manure, right? It's just, I had to really root down. And I am so thankful for that experience of learning who I was and not having anything now that can sway me or deter me. I know where my value lies, and anybody can try and challenge me now at this point where it's just like, no, I know who I am. And I feel so secure in that. And coming from a place of feeling like I was a failure all the time and feeling like I could never, line up to what other people wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And feeling like I just wasn't a good enough mom. And like on the outside, everybody thought I had it, together. Because I painted a pretty good picture of my life, right? We had a healthy, happy family and everybody looked good, but inside I was falling apart.
However, if you take full advantage of something like LinkedIn, and you really nurture the relationships you have at different stages of your career, you can then go back and ask people for recommendations on LinkedIn specifically to those jobs that you've had and stops along the way. Yeah. And you can accumulate. I have 20, 30 different reviews at different levels of my career, which was helpful in starting everything off because 1, I can refer people there. And 2, I had pieces that I can kind of cut and paste into some of my own self-promotion that someone spoke about my skill set and how successful I was in doing something with them in the previous experience. And because I also worked with agency life for about 3-4 years at that point, there was a lot of transferable information that I can say I created social media campaigns and a branding campaign. And this translates to some of the things I'm doing right now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a perseverance, isn't it? Just don't procrastinate and think that, oh, look, I don't have anything online or I don't have all those reviews. Just like you said, there are many ways of actually representing yourself and your experience. And
you can easily just do the work with a couple of people for free in trade for those reviews. And they're your first reviews on Google. They're their first reviews on your website.
Yeah. And that's good advice because that is, a lot of people don't realize that they can actually do that. It's a good way to start. And look, we all do it.
Me.
Yeah.
And I was telling my daughter, all she has to do is be like, hey, like, have you ever been afraid of closing your business? Or have you ever been so depressed that you've just been lying on the couch all day long and you wish, right? And you wish that and she was talking about guacamole, like being on her floor because her house was so dirty and like, have you ever had guacamole on your floor? Your house is such a mess. And, and then in your head though, even if you never had guacamole on your floor, you're saying like, yeah, I've been depressed. Yeah. Oh, it wasn't guacamole, but remember that time then you're remembering that time your sister came over and she saw chips all over the floor, or you know what I mean? You
start
relating. Like tell your story in your head. And it really connects with them in that way, and it wakes people up.
That is the very beginning of my healing journey of getting my health back, becoming that emotionally stable person who can process daily life, unpacking all of my past stuff. We'll call it stuff. Moving forward into life, finding that my actual true calling was to be an energy psychologist and to pass these tools and wisdom on to other people as well. Along my healing journey, I also found functional medicine, and so I've incorporated that as well. I started out working individually with people, and then, with the topic that it's a great topic to bring to so many, because there's so much that can be garnered from so many individuals by having that online platform. I've transitioned to that to really empower people in their own life journey, their healing, and coming to know themselves and understand themselves.
That's beautiful. It's a hard journey that you have to go through, though, to get to that, don't you? But
it can be nice. I feel like it doesn't have to be so hard, perhaps. I waited over approximately 25 years to really dig into my stuff and start addressing the things that were underlying all of my health and lack of fulfillment issues. If we don't wait 25 years, it's not so hard, actually. So, part of that I did to myself for sure, because I didn't pay attention.
Better late than never, really.
Absolutely. I agree.
I learned that if a woman recommends her husband to be coached by you, it's not a good idea for me. So I had 3 clients in a row that like my female friends were like, oh, my husband really needs a life coach. And I was like, great. They're like, I'll pay for it and everything. And then I was literally the most ineffective life coach ever because they didn't want to coach.
They don't want to be coached. They're not going to be coached.
They didn't want to be coached. So you're not getting anywhere. If someone who doesn't want to, if they're like, no. They're acting like they're into it, but they're folding their arms and they're like, when am I doing this over? So I can tell my wife, I can tell mommy that I did it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I learned a lot of lessons like that by doing it, again, by just doing it, putting one step forward. I learned, okay, don't coach somebody around their life unless they want to do it, which seems obvious, but when you're starting out, you'll take money from anybody sometimes, right? You're like, okay, sure. Yeah. And then I also coached a bunch of different type of people for free. I tried to coach somebody who's opening a new school. And I just said, I'll do it for free because I just wanted to see what that was like. And I was like, you know what? That's something I enjoy doing.
We prayed was supposed to be a 3-week medical leave. And it turned into me being a stay-at-home mom because of my husband's epilepsy illness. So it was the perfect storm for us. My husband got sick December 2019. His health started to really decline in April of 2020, went on the medical leave, and we were already shut down because of the pandemic. So any resources that I could maybe tap into were maxed out and everything was shut down. So that did not help. And then on top of that, when I was researching what resources I could get into, there really wasn't anything on the market for what I was dealing with. Being only in my mid-30s, my husband was only in his mid-50s when he got sick. We had a toddler at home. Yeah. And all the resources I could find were really more for just specifically stay-at-home moms who had maybe made that choice to be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
And maybe for a specific, there was caregiving stuff, but it was more focused on the actual illness, not so much caregiving for the unexpected, if that makes sense. That's not okay. It took me a while to get there. I didn't come to this realization of why the heck am I reinventing the wheel when I don't need to. So in December is when I really started this process of just sharing my story, trying and realizing how much this work is needed and how it's not okay for women who are thrust into this situation unexpectedly to not have coaching, to not have support, to not have all the other things I saw, all these other needs being met. These people, these women were not, these moms were not being served.
But you know what? I think it's just it's a momentum, isn't it? It's an evolution of what you're doing and how you're going to roll. And you know, I love that you shared that you went through that coaching phase and you recognize that, you know what, it's just not sitting well with you to do it, and that you decided on a different version of sharing that knowledge. You didn't give up on it. You know, and a lot of us go through that, don't we? Like, you know, sometimes some people start with memberships and then they evolve into courses and coaching and so forth. But
exactly,
it's great to hear from the other perspective.
Right? I know I'm a little bit of an odd duck, but it's so important to find what works for you. I mean, there's all kinds of people. I think that's my biggest pet peeve about helping new entrepreneurs online is there's so many people saying you have to do it this way.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do it that way.
Your name and business might be talked about in a room that you'll never enter. And that is something to keep in mind. Like, even if you might be getting crickets because no one clicks like on your post, but they're probably still reading it.
Yeah.
You know, how many views do you get on an Instagram reel versus how many likes you actually get?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So people are seeing it. People might be talking about you. So just being consistent and putting yourself out there, even though it can be a little scary and you might get some people that are negative Nancy's or just feel like arguing, that don't let that stop you, you know, like just be consistent and be out there and tell your truth and help the people that you're meant to help.
Yes, such a good point to make.
When I see that moment when someone realizes, oh my God, I don't have stage fright anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I've had it for 17 years and now it's just gone. I mean,
that anxiety
feeling
flushed away. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get a rush out of helping people see that happen to themselves. You know, that's just as exciting for me.
Yeah. Well, that gives you the drive, doesn't it? It just to see that every day, you become obsessed in it, don't you? It's just
yes, exactly.
I've got to make this.
So that's the long and winding road. That's how I got to I got
that's
here.
Amazing. And why in particular did you concentrate on actually the speaking confidence side of things?
Sure. So stage fright is a wide term, right? I mean, it's speaking anxiety, is performance anxiety.
Okay.
So musicians get it, actors get it, dancers get it, you know, and it's the same thing for everyone.
Yeah.
Now, and when I say it's the same thing, it's the same fight or flight response that's causing these symptoms, that's causing these performance issues, and in many cases causing people to just avoid the whole situation altogether.
Yeah.
But for each person, it's very individual. So the actual underlying, the root of it for each person is a different experience from their past, basically. Right. Okay. But the solution is really quite similar. You still have to work with each person to find what's happening. Yeah. But the steps to find that and to counter it are the same.
Right. Okay.
And I focused on the public speaking because it's much more, that's the word. So I don't want to say widespread, but that's not the word. A lot of people have it. So many have it.
Yeah.
May happen, but 99% of our problems, they're just in our heads.
Yeah.
They don't exist in reality.
That's just an amazing thing. Like, you know, we all go through, you know, that process of, you know, we've got to build up our intelligence. We've got to have knowledge in this. We've got to have knowledge in that. And we can overload, can't we? And like you just said, that's such a good analogy. All the taps start turning on and it's just, you just fill with all this information and a lot of it you don't actually need.
And it's not intelligence to begin with.
Yeah.
Intelligence are three things. Three. Instinct is, and a lot of people make a lot of money on instinct. Sportsmen.
Yep.
Instincts of the body, which is the type of intelligence which we all possess. That's what allows us to catch the mug falling,
right.
On the table. It's an intelligence that also can be developed and can be made very, very useful in business.
Yeah.
And a lot of people became very rich just on that intelligence.
Yeah.
Then what we usually value as an intelligence is the intellect.
Right.
It's intellect. It's basically you learn, memorize knowledge, your experienced knowledge. But guess what? And we think that's our mind. And that's why most of us don't like our minds as we get older. We don't trust our minds anymore because we forget.
Yeah.
We forget. We have so much junk information in there. It's a crazy place to be. And all day long, we're trying to find something in it.
Yes.
And more often than not, as we get older, the information we find is false information.
But I'd love to ask you, what advice would you give to anyone then who is looking to, I guess, start, like, there are obviously people out there that want to start coaching businesses and so forth. Mm-hmm. But based on your experience, who applied also the side of hypnosis, so there's that mindset as well as the strategy and so forth. What do you suggest to anyone who's thinking of looking to start one of those similar businesses?
Yeah, I think, just equipping yourself with the tools that you need to support other people is so crucial. And it doesn't mean that you have to know all the answers. Like, we can use coaching methodologies to guide people and ask the right questions. I use hypnosis to be able to also ask the right questions in order to guide people to the answers they already have within themselves. Yeah. So taking that pressure off of yourself to know all the answers and be the one to give all the advice, it doesn't have to exist that way. And we can just, take that step back and remember that we're also here to just guide people. They know themselves better than we know them. They know what they like and they dislike more than we do. They know what's going to stick. We can give this whatever advice that we've, experienced in our lives, or different tools or methodologies or, perspectives that we've, trained in, but it all just comes back to, just being there to support and being there to guide and really asking the questions that are going to, allow your clients to find those answers themselves. And then from there, that's when, we can employ different strategy and different recommendations, and also continue to bring more structure to the way we want, and can guide them and support them to get, reach those goals that they want and create new beliefs that they really want. I tell this to my clients as well, even after a hypnosis session, that they're like, this was amazing. Thank you. You're amazing. And I'm like, no, I literally just asked you questions. It all came from you. I don't want to, discredit myself. At the same time, I'm like, it is you. You showed up for this with this open mind and this open heart, and, with either a subconscious or conscious, idea of what you wanted, or just some sort of motive, whatever it was. And I just asked you the question. So it comes down to trusting yourself as well. And just knowing that no matter what, however the client shows up and whatever they have going on, you'll be able to guide them. You'll be able to ask these questions that will allow them to see things differently.
Obviously a lot of us, create solutions to the problems that we start off with, obviously. So what would you say was the biggest lesson that you shared, or that you find common when you do share the whole transformation, I guess, from shyness and to be bold with your students?
I think what happens to people is they become fearful of failure at somewhere in their 20s. And they never want to fail again. And we have a fabulous stigma on failure, F, that's you failed that class. Yes. We're taught to think about avoiding failure, which is the opposite of what you need to do to grow and succeed in life. Is you have to embrace failure. You have to understand that this is the only process for getting better.
Exactly.
And there isn't some other magical leapfrog way over failure to blazing success.
Yeah.
And so I see people creating this comfort zone for themselves and then just staying in it.
Yeah.
And their lives get very mundane and very stale and very mediocre. And then they don't know why, but they don't have the boldness muscle to get themselves out of it. And there's no system. Nobody's teaching them some way to say, well, this is how you build your confidence and boldness. And this is, you got to endure failure. You got to endure, difficulty and discomfort in order to get more comfortable. You can do it. You can learn it. They think that it can't be learned. They think, well, I am like this. And that's the other big thing, of course. We get trapped in our self-definitions. Yeah. I can't sing. I can't dance. I'm bad at math. I'm terrified of public speaking, which is just talking.
It's easy to say that, though, isn't it?
It's like an elevated platform where you are talking. It's like if you boil it down to what it is, it's kind of ridiculous that it terrifies people.
Yeah.
But I understand how powerful it is because we have a physiological reaction to psychological trauma, or our bodies react to it.
How did you build that audience? Like going through that process, you discovered your evolution, but carrying an audience, did you carry an audience along that journey, or did you sort of at each point create new audiences?
Yeah, it's my audience has definitely evolved because when I wrote my book and then when I first started coaching, I really wanted to help that woman that was, has overcome some challenge and has come out on the other side, is investing in herself, learning. And, my journey was messy because I'm reading all the books and all the podcasts, and they're all saying slightly different things. And, it can get very noisy. Yeah. And so I wanted to help streamline their journey and help them get to that transformation. And I'm huge on connections and relationships. So, connecting them with other people that are going through something similar and helping support and build this community. And so that's really was the vision of the book and then my early coaching. And as my career evolved, and now I actually have been hired by my state my education to be a state trainer. And now I train instructional coaches and I coach instructional coaches. And so it's all, I know, I'm like, well, look at me now.
The coach
I'm
hierarchy.
like the go-to coach girl. Yeah. Like, what? How did this even happen? And so now I'm really passionate about helping those coaches. Just like when I started, I had such a hard time stepping into the identity and working through those limiting beliefs. And so, using the neuro coaching method to help them get through all that and rewire their neural networks. And then also the coaching industry is very noisy.
Right.
And, I don't want passionate, purpose-driven coaches to do what I did, right, because it doesn't work. Because what I did was spent several years and many thousands of dollars on coaches and boot camps and courses and workshops, and everybody saying a slightly different thing and saying, nope, you have to build a funnel. Nope, you have to go live every day. Nope, you have to, all of these shoulds. And I was so busy spinning all these wheels and like trying to do all these things and learn all these things that I wasn't, there was no time, there's nothing left over to actually connect with people and do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I see that happening to so many other people. And finally, like, I just said, enough is enough. I was like, maybe this was the wrong path. Maybe I'm not supposed to do this. Maybe all this was for nothing. It was just at that kind of crossroads.
Yeah.
Luckily, again, lots of affirming, amazing support people in my system that helped me kind of see.
This whole journey of sharing your knowledge online or, even as a speaker in front of other people, you do go through this process of, there's so many different ways we learn, but there's also so many different ways we deliver our content.
Yes.
And it's, to those, we're constantly, reviewing and recognizing what our audience is needing from us. So it's great that you, obviously took on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've also, I did coaching for quite a long period of time and then left that. And now I'm moving back also into that mentoring space because particularly, well, it's really working only with women because I know that, well, as a woman, I understand women, but it's about taking women where they want to go.
Yeah.
But often women come to me when they're frustrated. They don't want another set of skills. They don't want another program. They don't want another, I
don't need more on my shoulders.
No, but they're not sure what it is that they need. Yeah. And so that's my role because I understand about what's happening underneath the surface.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that.
I help them dig into what is it that's sitting there.
Yeah, I really appreciate hearing you say that because, it's funny how conversations just somehow I had a conversation about this yesterday with someone. It's just, the definition of a mentor or, why we actually are asking for help. Sometimes we don't even know what we're asking for. And one thing I'd love to ask you is how did you work out your niche?
I fought myself on it for an excessive amount of time, as everybody does.
Yeah.
Honestly, my niche started out as small business owners because I realized that there wasn't a lot of marketing services available for small business owners. Then I thought, okay, this is interesting because I was attracting a lot of certain types of business owners. Right. And then for the book particularly, I niched down into female entrepreneurs. A lot of them are solo entrepreneurs. So I narrowed it down that way. And then I was getting approached by a lot of coaches and consultants because they were the ones that were struggling just to sort of clarify their messaging and what it was they were really doing because very competitive landscape as well.
Yeah.
Strangely, now all of a sudden I'm getting a lot of product-based businesses as well again, but I definitely wanted to be in the small business space. So even though for like consulting, historically I've worked with larger organizations because they've got more budget and they just want to scale up and down occasionally for projects, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure for this business that it was delivering a service for an area that I operate in as well. So I'm a small business owner and I can relate to the challenges that everyone's going through. Even though everyone comes to me for their marketing, I go to other people for help with mindset and accounting and all of those sorts of things. So, and I like this space because it moves quickly and it's exciting and people are passionate. Yeah, it was trial and error. And I literally did go through and do some market research and say, okay, well, there's a lot of people operating in that space, a lot of people operating in that space. I have a gap here. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's my passion that overrode the logic. And I really enjoy working with other women.
How would you inspire women to make their own connection? And be more visible in the media?
Okay.
What's the number one thing you would say?
I've come up with what I think is an absolutely brilliant reason for you to push yourself forward.
Yeah.
And that is, most of us in our businesses want to affect some change or want to be able to help people. So if we're going to be able to do that, then we need to have some power and influence because that it is the powerful, influential people that get all the followers.
Yeah.
So in order to make yourself influential and to give yourself some power, what do you need to do? You have to push yourself forward. You have to make yourself visible. Otherwise, people don't know what you do or what your business is. So I kind of say, particularly to women, get over yourself. It's not about you, all those kind of things. And I go, if you think about how you're helping other people and you think that by making yourself visible, there are other young women who will be able to see what you're doing and maybe follow in your footsteps.
Whenever I can, I'm just going to share and help because I believe in abundance. I believe there is enough business for all of us.
Yes.
It's not like if I give you all, my contacts, you can start up and be complete competition with me, because I just don't believe the world works like that.
No, I don't believe there's competition either. I think we all have something unique to share.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We all put our own spin on life and our personality and all that kind of thing. So I think innately it's been there the whole way through. And, in the last, I don't know, whatever amount of years, it's doing that in a online platform as well as in-person side. Yeah.
Just sharing online, getting online. It's one of those things, isn't it? It's really, how did you go with that? Because obviously being in the world of not being online, how did you, find the energy for one and that moment of, what, was there a push to make you do it, or, how did you go about?
Yeah, so much. So I managed to have like a professional 30-year professional career in fashion.
Yeah.
Nearly all of that time I've managed to do behind the scenes. I'm a super private person. It's not really my jam to be a public kind. Yeah, it's just not who I am. And so, and then I realised along the way, and I fought it for a long time, I just didn't want to do it. I'd put, even as much as I'd put stock photos on my website, and I'd do things like that because I really didn't want it to be all about me.
God, I sound the same. You sound the same as me.
I really didn't want to do it. And I was concerned about the what ifs, you read all these things about people being not nice and judgmental and all this kind of stuff. But I realised I sort of had to work out how to do it and still be Jane, still be me, still do it in my way.
Yeah.
And, it's different courses that many of us in small business have done, online courses, and they say, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do this. I did do a few of those things, and then I thought, you know what, I've got to bring it back to what feels really right for me.
But with respect to anyone out there, now you're mentioning VA, who's running their business online, knowledge business, whatever. So they're trying to sort of grab everything out of their brain and put it into some sort of context that they can sell and teach. Obviously, they get busy, and the VA is probably the first person, or a content creator sometimes is the first person that they bring on. You mentioned the VA, and I'm going to go to that sort of point. What was some of the things that you wanted to look out for in a VA, knowing what obviously everyone, what our needs are very different, but as you're starting a business or you're growing your business, the first person might be a VA. What would you suggest someone look for, or make sure they look for in a VA?
It's about the relationship.
It is, yeah.
So you've got to find that good fit.
Yeah.
And for me, that meant that they needed to be purpose-driven, and they needed to care about what I was doing.
Yep.
So when I got my first VA, I had the choice between a VA who was new to VA, so I hadn't really had another client before, but she had gone and researched me. She was interested in leadership. She could talk about leadership, but she wasn't a leader. And a really experienced VA who, to them, it didn't matter what I did. And I chose the inexperienced VA.
Yeah.
Because you got to get someone who's got to have some skin in the game, right? It's not about compliance. It's about commitment and engagement. And so I was looking for someone who wanted to engage and commit to what I did in my business and have a true relationship with me.
Yeah.
And, so that's what I focused on, is the person.
Yeah. I love that answer. That's good. Well, I guess, because we obviously look at skill set and so forth, but you've got, there's a portion of each person, everyone that works or does their own thing, they have that portion of what's inbuilt in them, which is like the culture. And then there's obviously the skill set of what they do. And culture, you can't teach culture. I think some of it, it's what we bring to the table. And for me, I think that is great advice, Justine, just for anyone out there who might think to expand or bring on someone into their business to help them. Look at the person. there's got to be a click too, I guess. Every person I've spoken to, it's like, let's just, or interview to bring on.
Yes.
Got to have a click with them.
Yeah, look, in my HR days, I've done a lot of recruiting.
Yeah.
And pretty much we've decided whether we like them or not in about the first 30 seconds. And we spend the rest of the interview justifying to ourselves why we thought the first thing.
Yeah.
Right? And so the first thing is a feeling you get.
Mm.
And like I said, you're trying to understand, can I have a long-term relationship with this person?
Yeah.
And too often we and I've been there, and I've been one of those people where you put the job out or you put it up online or you tell people, and you start with, here's all the things I want you to be able to do.
Yeah.
Like, I think we've had it back to front forever. It's actually, this is the person I need.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, this is what you'll be doing.
Yes. Yeah.
Because like I said, you can teach someone. And if somebody truly is engaged, wants that connection, that relationship with you, they'll learn it. They'll learn the bits that they're not that great at, and you'll find a way to make it work.
Yeah. No, that's so helpful. And I'd love to ask, what legacy are you looking to leave based on what you shared?
For me, I want to leave a legacy of strong and kind leaders. My mission is to grow the next generation of CEOs and people managers. And make sure that they are leading with strength and kindness. Because for too long, particularly in corporate and even in small businesses, too many people think that strength and kindness is mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
And they're not. We can be both.
Thanks for listening to the Wise Dome podcast. If you enjoyed and have been inspired by this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, do subscribe and please share it with others. Post about us on social media or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, Nikki Kelly, you can follow me on Instagram at Wise Dome Podcast, WISEDOME podcast. I'm Nikki Kelly. Thanks again, and we'll catch up next time.